But let's get started then. So good evening, everyone. I'm Sophia King, Alderman of the 4th Ward. Here this evening, we are going to discuss a development in the South Loop at 424 South Wabash. Did I get that address correct? At 424 South Wabash. This is actually an as-of-right development. However, we have always said that if the developers are so inclined, we'd like to share any and all development with our constituents. Luckily, we have with us Mr. Dennis McClendon, who is the subcommittee chair of development of the South Loop Advisory Council, and he's going to lead this discussion. But before we ask Dennis to get started, I know you guys are going to give a presentation, the development team for 424 South Wabash. To that end, can you guys, who's the point person? Jack, is that you or someone else?
I was going to start it out, Alderman.
Okay, yeah. All right. So I will throw it over to Mr. Jack George, and he'll introduce his team. And then when you guys finish your presentation, Mr. McClendon will give an introduction of himself and then get started with questions. All right, sound good?
Good. Good evening, Alderman King and all those who are here tonight. First of all, I'd like to thank Alderman King again for giving us the opportunity to make this presentation tonight. We made an initial presentation to the Alderman and to Prentice before about this project, but she gave us this opportunity to come here tonight, so we appreciate the chance to make another presentation. I represent the developer of the project, Mr. Resco, Adam Resco, and DAK, which is his company, and he'll be here with me tonight to talk a little bit about his company and other projects they've done in the city of Chicago. The subject property, as Alderman King indicated, is at 424 South Wabash. The property is zoned DX16. What they're seeking to do here on this site is to build a hotel on that site. The hotel would be 285 feet tall. It would have 270 keys. The hospitality group that would be running the hotel would be the Sonder Group. And Mr. Corey Croft is here from the Sonder Group, who will talk a little bit about their company and what they do and how their operation works. And then also we have a representative from Papa George and Hames. Georgie will go through and discuss the building itself, the facade of the building, what the building is made up of, the particular architectural design features of the building. And so that's our whole team. And I would like first to have Adam just to go through and explain a little bit about his company, the other projects they've worked on here in the city. Then after Adam is through, I would like to have the architect go through and explain the building itself and how it's been designed and the fabric of it. And then I would like to finish up with Corey, who can go through and talk about the Sonder Hospitality Group and how they work and how this hotel would operate. And so with that, I would ask Adam, if you could just go through, Adam, identify yourself and then give a little bit of history of your company and what other projects you're working on here in the city of Chicago.
Thank you, Jack. My name is Adam Resco. I'm joined here by my brother, Danny, and together we're partners in DAC Developments. We've been in operation since 2016, and in that time, we've completed 3 projects totaling 385 luxury apartment units in Chicago and the Chicagoland area. We have a 212 unit apartment building in Des Plaines under construction currently, and we are breaking ground this summer on a 200 unit project in River North. As Jack mentioned, we are developing a 270 unit hotel on 424 South Wabash, with Sonder being our sole tenant and Papa George Hames as the architect. We look forward to bringing a beautiful building to this area of the Loop that will bring in guests from around the country and the world to experience this incredible part of the city that we all know and love. My brother and I were born and raised in Chicago. We've been here our entire lives, and nothing gives us more pride and the opportunity to give a little shape to the city that has done so much to shape us. And we are honored to be able to do that in the Fourth Ward. So thank you again, and we look very much forward to your feedback.
Georgia, do you want to take it over?
Yes, thanks, Jack. I'm Georgi Todorov. I'm a senior project architect at Papa George Keynes Partners and the newest associate in the company. Here with me are Adam Levy, who is the project manager of the project, and David Hames, who is the founder of our company. We are a Chicago-based architecture firm that has been in business for the past 40 years. We are residential high-rise experts committed to excellence. And because of that, and because we have a solid portfolio of tall buildings in the Chicago downtown area, we were invited to be the architect of this exciting project for a hotel tower at 424 South Wabash. The site is located west of the tracks between West Congress Parkway and Van Buren, just across from the Roosevelt University building. The zoning is DX16, which allows us to have a hotel use by right. The gross floor area, the allowable gross floor area would be just over 190,000 square feet. Currently on the site, there is an existing one-story brick building and surface parking. And looking at this photo, you can see that there is no doubt that new developments on these vacant lots would definitely enhance the urban experience in the area. What we're proposing is to develop a 26-story building with an overall height of 285 feet, which will have 270 hotel keys. On the first floor, in addition to the hotel lobby and amenity areas, we will have a retail space facing the street and service rooms at the rear of the building. Second and third floor will be parking garage, which will render about 40 parking spots. Fourth and fifth floor will be offices with a small amenity on the fourth floor, which will take advantage of the outdoor terraces. On this slide at the bottom, you can see the typical hotel floor plan, which has 17 hotel keys. And as we go up the tower, the last couple of floors will have larger units. At the top of the building, we will have two amenity floors with outdoor spaces. On this slide, you can see the proposed building in its context. It's worth mentioning that this is a preliminary design, and we'll modify it with the further development of the project. However, we would like to make a few main points. On the south side along Congress Parkway, we have a street wall of historical buildings with stone and brick facades with very strictly organized window order. As a contrast, on a second plane, we have the contemporary Roosevelt University building, which has fully glazed facade with two-color random pattern. What we're proposing for our building is also to be fully glazed, which will not only maximizes the impressive city views towards the south and the east, but also the two towers will create this glass portal to the loop. We're planning to use two covers of glass organized in a larger format to highlight the central building element which faces the street. And as you can see, our design is very simple, very neat, as our intention is not to compete with the adjacent buildings, but rather to contribute to the neighborhood by reflecting them. On the north side, we are again looking for a similar language with the Roosevelt University building by introducing a regular pattern of repetitive elements, which will not only correspond to the regular window pattern of the university building, but also will help us to increase the energy performance of our facade. These are solid elements. We are not looking for to maximize city views here because we understand that a new development right on the corner of Van Buren and Wabash is going on, and it will block our city views. On this slide, we put together a couple of shots from different view angles just to show how elegant the new tower could be. And with that, I would like to thank you for your attention and would hand it over to Sander. Corey.
Excellent. Now we can go to the next slide here. Thank you everyone for your time. My name is Corey Croft. I'm the general manager for Sonder here in Chicago. By way of quick background, I know a lot of people may not have heard of Sonder, but we consider ourselves to be a next generation hospitality company. What we've done is taken a look at the landscape of hoteling and thought, there's a better way to do this that complements where the world is going, the ways in which we're incorporating technology into everything that we do in life, but in particular the travel experience. And so, I use some of this presentation to just kind of talk through who we are and how our model works. We can go to the next slide, actually probably 2 slides after this. And so at a glance, yeah, we've got 4.5 billion assets under our operations. And this is not just in Chicago, but across the world in more than 35 cities, and we're continuing to grow. We've got 4,500 live units, but also 11,000 spaces signed. So we're continuing to grow, and we see that growth actually happening. And so we're excited about what we're doing here in Chicago. Next slide. Yeah, again, with this slide, just another snapshot at the cities that we operate in. In North America and the United States, we're in most large markets. Next slide, Georgie. We'll go one more. And so let me talk about how it works. And again, going back to the idea that, we're building a next generation hospitality company. If you think about what hoteling has been and traveling and staying in hotels, it's largely been predictable. In some ways that's been good, but for those that desire more, sometimes you can consider the ubiquity of hoteling to be rather uninspiring. And so with Sonder, rather than your traditional 300 square foot box that a hotel room is, we thought how cool would it be to stay in a space that's designed to enjoy, to spread out, to live, a 1 or 2 bedroom apartment, fully beautifully furnished, nice looking artwork. And then that complements the experience that incorporates technology. And so how cool is it to be able to go to a hotel and not have to stand in line for 30 minutes to find out what room you're in, or even know if your room is ready. And so we've incorporated technology and really put the lobby onto your phone, such that you can find out before you even arrive the room you're staying in, how do you check in, any other things you need to know. And that concierge is right there at your fingertips. If you want to communicate with someone and understand what's around you, what businesses can you patronize, where can you get something to eat, if you need clothes cleaned or things like that. All of those answers are right there at your fingertips, as opposed to needing to call down to the desk, or even worse, again, go and stand in line. Go to the next slide. And so this slide just shows a few examples of some of the spaces we've been able to transform. Again, going back to the idea that we take pride in the fact that our spaces aren't just 200 or 300 square foot boxes that have a bed and maybe a desk and a TV. And so we'll have nice furniture and artwork and great paint and lighting and things like that. And so we're really proud of this. We've been featured in a lot of different places, and a lot of our units here in Chicago, which we'll show on some other slides, also reflect that as well. I'll go ahead and skip this slide. I don't want to beat the dead horse. Let's go and see what else is there. Again, just this slide again just talks more to the idea that we use technology to power our operating model so that it enhances the guest experience. A little bit here in terms of who our guest typically is. Average age around 39 to 40 years old. We have anywhere from a family traveling, which compromises about a quarter of our guests. If you think about, a 4-person family, that going back to the idea of what a hotel is, that's 300 square foot box won't necessarily work for that family. It's much more comfortable to be in a 2-bedroom apartment with a kitchen and a refrigerator and things like that. And when you think about what a traditional Airbnb has been, how colloquially we think of someone staying in someone's apartment, that's not necessarily all that comfortable either. And so it's better for us and better for our guests to be able to rely on us to provide a consistent and reliable experience, to know that you're staying in a hotel. And when I talk about hotel, we do operate as a hotel. We acquire all the licensing and pay all the taxes and are registered and things like that as a hotel. And people enjoy and appreciate that. A third of our travelers are business travelers who again are looking for a little bit more comfort in how they travel. And then the rest of the demographics breakdown are shown here on this slide. Go to the next one. Let's skip to Sonder in Chicago, Georgia. We'll go down a few more slides, and I don't want to beat this dead horse here. Yeah, and so the average Sonder market with about 300 units spends a little more than 11 million a year. That's on the salary and wages. That's on the rent. And again, we're happy to be partnering with DAC Development, and we'll be great business partners and promise to pay our rent as well. And we also are proud to say that we contract with local businesses to do cleaning, to clean our linens and do laundry service, and also provide guests who will patronize restaurants and other services in the area as well. Next slide. And so the next couple slides just show a few of our spaces that we're proud of. This here is many of you might be familiar with that the Essex Hotel, the Essex Inn, that fun sign right there on 8th and Michigan. We lease spaces in the building right next door to that, and this is an example of one of our units in that building. This here is right there in the South Loop, you guys' neighborhood as well, and this is right there on 14th and Wabash. This is an example of a space. Next slide. And this was right in the heart of the loop, right at Wabash in Madison. We just opened this building earlier this year in Jewelers Row. And this is a historic building. We're proud of this one. We partnered with a developer on this, and this is a landmark building. And so we were able to preserve a lot of the historic pieces in there. And this is an old office building that we preserved, and it's called an adaptive reuse. We were able to turn this into a hotel space, and turned out really great, as you can see here, and how this unit looks. So I think that concludes the Sonder piece of this. I'm happy to turn it back over to Jack for the next part of it.
That's our presentation, Alderman, and those who are listening. We stand ready to answer any of the questions that any of you might have concerning this project. It's a project that they have spent a lot of time on and that they're very proud of. And so any questions you have, we'll be glad to answer.
Yeah, I will turn it over to Mr. Dennis McClendon, who is the chair of the Development Subcommittee and for the South Loop Advisory Council. So Dennis, if you want to start off with any questions you might have, or start off with questions you've seen in the chat, or however you want to run it.
Okay, I'm looking at the chat now. All right, so it looks like the main construction is about minority access to construction jobs on the project. So
I'll
I'm
let,
not sure.
I'll let Adam or
Danny?
Danny, thanks, Dennis. I'll let Adam or Danny answer that question, but our position is that we intend, of course, to hire from the community, have job fairs, and participate with as much as we can with minority participation, with MBE and WBE hiring. But Danny or Adam, do you want to answer that question a little bit more fuller than I have?
Sure.
Dan? Okay.
We do believe strongly in minority participation during construction. We have told Alderman King that we will work closely with her on job fairs and things of that nature to get as much of that kind of participation that we possibly can. We've done that with another project of ours on in the River North, and we intend to do that here as well.
All right, does any of the folks who asked about that want to follow up on that?
I would.
Prentice, I'm okay, go ahead.
So when the question was asked about minorities, it was specific to African people, because sometimes when we say not minorities, it's not always directed toward specifically Blacks. So we want to make sure that, you know, when we talk about minorities, we're speaking specifically, for me, making sure that there's Black faces on those construction sites. Does that make sense?
We understand exactly what you're saying, and we understand that, and that's a commitment that we are making, and that Adam or Danny who answered that question, but that is a commitment that we are making to hire from the community, and that includes, or that when we're talking about that, we were talking about the Black community with respect to jobs, construction jobs, and jobs once the hotel is up and running too. So that's a commitment that they're making.
I can add to that as Jack said, that is our intention. Yes.
Thank you.
So I just have a couple of small questions for, I guess, the architectural team. The first one is the stacking plan, and I don't know if you can go back to that real easily, but I'm a little confused why that seems to show a setback on, I can't tell which side that would be. Is there because it doesn't really seem like there's a difference in square footage from one floor plate to the next.
I'm not sure.
Dennis, are you talking about the data sheet with the data on it that has a diagram? This one?
That one right there.
Yeah. This is basically a diagram to show site coverage more than it is setbacks of the building. So it's a diagram that explains that there is more square footage on the lower levels. As the tower comes in from its side setbacks, that's the reduction. So this can be a little bit misleading from a standpoint of showing its shape, but not necessarily its bulk.
All right, so the tower is coming in from the lot lines, both north and south?
Correct.
Okay. All right. And then the second question, and I know you're
Dennis,
going
that's
to.
above my pay grade. What does that mean? Are there concerns there, or are there, yeah?
Well, I just was puzzled why the stacking plan showed smaller floor plates, as you see here on the tower, than it does on the lower level podium. And but then the architectural rendering didn't seem to really show much of a setback. But I think it's because they're coming back probably 5 feet from each of the property lines on the north and the south, just in case something someday gets built there.
Yeah,
It's
so
actually 10 feet, Dennis.
10 feet both sides. Yeah, in red line here, you can see the property line. So this is the first floor. And when we go up the tower, you can see the setbacks to the south and to the north.
Got it. Is it for that reason, in case someone bills on either?
Well, they have
It-
to do that to meet code.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, go
And the
ahead.
other que-
Thanks.
And the other question I have is, I know you're going to say that it's premature, but it's a little bit worrying. And that is whether you will commit to caissons or micropiles for the foundation system.
I would say it's too soon to make that determination. I know most of the soils in this area generally call for piles, but that doesn't mean we're eliminating caissons.
And so the concern that always comes up with driving piles is your neighbors. And so right across the street, you've got the auditorium building, which already has its own set of historic subsidence problems. And right next door to the south, you have the Richardson building, mill construction from 1886, probably on spread foundations. And so you're really just tempting fate if you're driving piles here with those historic buildings.
Correct. And we're going to explore all options, even if the recommendation is for piles, that they would have pile points to minimize that the impact of the soil. But that certainly is a major consideration into the foundation types here.
All right, Barbara Harris, I see, has asked about the amount of parking spaces. Be 40 stalls, we were told in the, that would be in the podium.
Yep.
Lucas Kugler asks about the construction timeline.
I would let Adam Rescu to talk about that.
We are planning on breaking ground next March, so March 2022. And the construction timeline will be 18 months. Which I believe is November 23 will be the completion month.
All right. Corey, the rendering shows a Zonder signage there on Wabash, and office space up on 4 and 5. Wondering if this is sort of a operations center for the half dozen properties that you'll have in downtown Chicago by the time this is finished?
Yeah, it can be considered. I mean, so no definitive answer as of yet, but yes, it will definitely be considered. I mean, this property will have the potential to be a flagship for us, and the office space there will have enough to house everyone that we have, quote unquote, back of house in Chicago here in this site. And then also we have a few people who are, not necessarily Chicago operations specific, but still work for Sonder and call it a headquarters capacity. We'll be able to office out of this site as well.
All right, do we have questions for anyone else?
I see a question. I don't know if you got to the parking question that was in the other Q&A. It
40
just said,
stalls.
why so little parking? Someone put in the Q&A. I don't know. I had to take a call, so I don't know if I missed that question, but just wanted to make sure.
We're providing more parking than is required, of course, because hotels do not require any parking. But in addition to that, we're at a transit served location, we're within the necessary number of feet from a CTA station. So we're providing way more than what's required. And so with this type of a hotel use, I mean, I think that, studies have shown that these hotels do not require much in the way of parking. And that's why the zoning code doesn't require any parking for hotels. But we did provide 40 spaces just to accommodate some of the guests if they want it. But we're way over what's required.
And then I did notice a couple of folks from Local One in the chat. So where are you in terms of, commitment to union labor and workforce and those types of things?
For a project like this, we fully intend to use union workers for construction. It will be 100% a union job. Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm muted. Any other questions? Let me make sure. Everybody can unmute themselves, right? So if you've got a question, please raise your hand. Dennis, you do a great job asking questions that I would never think to ask. So I appreciate your expertise. So any other questions just from folks who are here? Okay. Any other comments from the, wait, I think we've got one question here. Just wondering about Wi-Fi.
Is that a question for me, maybe?
Yeah, probably.
It is.
I think they're talking about in the hotel, but they certainly could be talking about our Wi-Fi on this Zoom call, but I think it's directed towards you guys.
Corey, can you answer that one?
Yeah, I'll do my best in in saying, yeah, we have full building Wi-Fi. It's powered throughout, obviously, with our heavy reliance on technology. Being able to not only access it to power operations, but also provide it reliably for guests is critical to what we do. We know it's what people want, and so we deliver it. Full stop.
Okay. And then there's another question that was added about since they're apartment-like rooms, what's the distribution of room types?
Yeah, I'll turn that to Georgie. I mean, it's a mix of studios, 1 bedrooms, and 2 bedrooms, but I don't recall the exact.
I also don't know it by heart, and it will take me a couple of minutes to
It's
check it out.
I do.
Okay, Adam, go ahead.
The two Adams know the answer. It's
right.
190 studios, 16 1 beds, and 64 2 beds.
Great.
Thank you.
And is there on the first floor, is there going to be a restaurant or something inside?
That is the intention. Yeah, we want to bring an exciting tenant to the retail space, and we're thinking a restaurant.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. Well, I want to again thank Mr. Dennis McClendon for leading our development committee in the South Loop. Also want to thank the development team for coming today. I truly appreciate it, especially as I said earlier, this is an as of right development. So they certainly don't have to come before the community, but it's duly noted that they have come before the community. Also noted that they understand the diversity that's in our city and are willing to make sure that that is integrated into the project appropriately. So, and so with that, Jack, or I don't know if you have any parting words, but we also appreciate your relationship with our office and understanding the importance of developments coming to the community, and appreciate that as well.
We're glad to, Alderman. We appreciate the opportunity, as I said, and we really appreciate the opportunity to come and bring projects to you and then to the community so that they understand fully what's going on when they see a building going up. I mean, I received an email last night from South Loop Planning Group, I think, from Sanchez.
Bonnie Sanchez, yep.
Bonnie Sanchez, yeah. And so I told her, I sent her an email today and told her, she said, I understand you're doing as a matter of right. And I said, yes. I said, if you want us to come and explain it to your group, I said, we'll be happy to do it. So we're glad to do it. I find that with any of these projects, it's much better to go to the community, answer their questions, and sometimes you get you learn a lot by listening to the community. And so we appreciate the opportunity. And Dennis, thanks an awful lot for your questions. I know you know an awful lot about development, so we appreciate you looking into it and asking us the right questions. And so, but thanks again. We really appreciate it.
All right. Well, thank you again. Thank you, everyone. And appreciate this. Again, Danny, when are you trying to get started? I know you said it earlier, just remind me quickly.
Yeah, we're getting started March 22.
So that's when you'll break ground?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Well, I do want to be in touch on the things that we talked about. And so let's plan to do that soon.
Of course.
All right. Thank you, everyone, and have a great evening.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody.
Bye.
Have a good evening.